Okay, this video is on simple interest, and important to know the formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time. I equals PRT, principal times rate times time. So that's an important formula to do any of these problems. Let's say you're given a problem where they tell you the principal is $450, the rate is 4.5%, and the time is 2 years. Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to look at this percent right here, and you're going to need to change this percent into a decimal. You see the time is 2 years, so that's pretty simple. The principal is pretty straightforward. So let's start to fill in our equation. Our equation here. I equals principal 450 times the rate, which we don't have yet, times the time. And the time is just going to be 2 because time is always based on years. So we can just simply put in the 2 there. But the rate here is the thing that we want to change first before we put it in there. We can't use it as a percent. We want to change this rate first to a decimal. So this is going to be changed 1, 2 places to the left. So the rate is going to become 0.045 because we have to change that to a decimal, right? So we just took the decimal place, moved it 2 places to the left, moved that decimal 2 places to the left, 0.045. Okay, so now we're ready to plug that number in. So it becomes 450 times 0.045 times 2. And once we multiply this all out, we have our interest. And it's really straightforward, really pretty simple. We'll multiply these two numbers first, 450 times 0.045 or 45 tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And you're just doing your straightforward multiplication. And when you do that, you get 20.25, and you should try and figure that out on your own. Make sure it comes out the same way. And then you're going to multiply it by the 2. Okay, so the interest is equal to these two numbers multiplied together, now multiplied by the 2. And finally, when you multiply those two numbers together, you're going to get your interest to be $40.50. And that's it. So that's pretty much it. You're just going to substitute, but you have to first change that percent to a decimal, and then you multiply it all out. And that's if this is based on years. Sometimes you'll get problems based on months. So I want to talk about that T for time, right? This is equal to the T in the formula. When they give you years, it's really easy. The T, if it's 1 year, the T equals 1. 2 years, the T equals 2. 3 years, the T equals 3, and so on. But if they give you months, it's actually, you want to convert it to what it means compared to a year. So since there is 12 months in a year, what you do is, if they tell you it's 3 months, you're just simply putting that number over 12. So for 3 months, it would be 3 over 12, and then we just simplify that. 3 over 12 divided by 3 over 3, right? We're just reducing the fraction, would be 1 over 4. Now, if you think about money, and you know we want to get this to a decimal, so think about money. 1 out of 4 quarters is actually, well, just 25 cents, and we can write it just like that. And that's an easy way to remember what your decimal is going to be. You can also do the top dog in the dog house and figure it out that way. There's a few different ways you can do that, but that's pretty straightforward. Think about money. 1 out of 4 quarters is 25 cents. And if we have 6 over 12, and we reduce that because we can divide by 6 over 6, well, what do we get there? 6 divided by 6 is 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. Well, now we have 1/2. Well, what's 1/2 of a dollar? Well, that's just 50 cents. So you can write that like that. So that would be our time. So 20.25 would be the time if it's 3 months. For 6 months, it would be, the T would be 0.50 or 0.5. For 9 months, it's simply 9 over 12. Again, you're going to reduce that fraction divided by 3 over 3, and you would get 3 over 4. And think about money. 3 out of 4 quarters is 75 cents. So that's easy. 75 cents looks like this. And that also is going to be our T. So you know you always want that T to be a decimal. So there you go. Try to remember when you're dealing with time, it's always compared to a year. So if they give you the year, it's really straightforward. If they give you the months, then you have to put it over 12 and reduce it and get the decimal. It really isn't a big deal. As you can see, just make sure you understand the steps that I went through to get there, and you'll be fine. So let's do another example where they give you the months. This is not a year. Right now you can see they're giving you 18 months here. Okay, our rate is 2.5%. So there's a couple of things we need to do here. I know I can start my formula. I equals P, which is 500, times, and we're going to plug in the rate, and we're going to plug in the time. Now, the rate is 2.5%. Again, I want to take that and I want to move it 2 places to the left and add the 0. So the rate is going to be 0.025, and I'm going to plug that into my formula there. 0.025, or tens, hundreds, thousands, 25 thousandths, right, is how that's read. Now the time is 18 months. Well, let's think about what we're doing here. 18 months means 18 over 12, right? That's what we said in the last slide. So 18 over 12, if I was to simplify that, I can get, let's see, 3 over 2, which also means 1 1/2. Okay, well now that's easy. I have 1 and 1/2. What is 1/2 of a dollar? Well, that's 50 cents. So 1 plus 50 cents, right, is 150. So our little decimal then is 150 or 1.5, either way. So I can go ahead and write 1.5, and then I'm going to multiply all of these out. So then just to reiterate that, we put the months over the 12 months in a year. We reduced it. We got this mixed number, and I kind of like we got this improper fraction, and I like that because I can make it a mixed number, and I know the whole number there, I can just kind of keep it on the side and just deal with that fraction and see where that is, had to make that, into the T. So if I see that's a half, well then that's going to be half a dollar, which is 50 cents. Just put that together, and then I have my T. So okay, so now we're up to the multiplying part. So it's 500 times 0.025. When I multiply that out, I get 1250. And then I'm going to have to take, actually, wait a minute, let me double check that. 500 times 0.025. Sorry about that. The decimal's right over there. And then what I'm going to do is take those two numbers after I've multiplied and multiply by 1.5. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply that by 1.5. And my number there is I is equal to 18.75 as my final interest. So then that's telling me the interest on $500 after 18 months at 2.5% is $18.75. Okay, and so that would be my final answer. So if I were you, I'd go through all these problems again, write them down separately, see if you can figure them out, practice going over the T and trying to figure out what the T means in all of these problems. And it's really not that bad, so you'll do just fine when you practice.